Let's all go to the lobby, lobby, lobby. Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the. Let's all go to the lobby.
What is up, real boys and girls? My name is Adam Obesis Rodriguez. With me, as always, the venerable Marco Dupa.
Ooh, I like that one.
Thank you. Yeah, we're here again in Not So Sober October. Yet again. Another one. Reviewing another movie for the One Reel In podcast. And this one is a relatively recent film as well, called Oddity. Currently streaming on Shudder. If you haven't seen it yet, pause this. Go watch it. Come back. Because we are going to be spoiling the hell out of it.
Yes.
Can I say hell?
I think so.
Okay, cool. But first, Marco, what are we drinking tonight?
Oh, buddy. I actually am not sure if we have done this on the show proper, right?
We had to have. It's been around long enough. It's been a known thing for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm like 90% sure that we've done it on the show before.
Probably.
So, in that regard, it's the return of the Dragon's Milk, a bourbon barrel-aged stout, coming in at a whopping 11%.
Right.
So, if you guys have been listening for a while, you know the rules. But if you haven't, just basically, for Not So Sober October, we don't have to continuously raise the ABV, although that is what we're going to do.
We'll do our best.
The rule is that we can't go any lower. So we started off at 10%, this week 11%. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm hoping to find some really...
Some heavy hitters?
Yeah. I'm gonna go some places. I'm going to talk to some people. You got to talk to some people. We'll do it. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay, thank you. And as we said last week, if you guys know of any high ABV beers that are relatively easy to get in Central Florida, let us know, because we're really trying to stick to this tradition, and it's getting harder and harder every year.
Yeah. I just literally just splashed out on my shirt.
Nice.
This shirt is bad luck, dude. Every time I've worn it, I've spilled something. It's like when you wear white and you finally get a nice white shirt. But then you wear like a blue shirt or something. And you're like, oh, how did I keep this shirt so clean?
I'm sorry, but
it's okay.
That being said, what a good intro to this film than talking about curses.
All right.
Cheers to that.
Nice.
Oh yeah. That's from Dragon's Milk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So. Again, spoiler warning, but I'm going to do the thing that I do, which is try to run through this movie's synopsis as quickly as possible.
Yeah. I think you can get through this one pretty quickly.
I think so, too. I'm coming in confident. Again, I didn't rehearse this one.
It's a cold read like it always is.
Bear that in mind.
Yeah.
So.
You want me to time you again, or you want to... I don't think you need the added pressure of a timer. Just...
Let me do this one. Next week, we'll go back to the timer, okay?
Okay.
I'm getting back out there.
You got to take your time.
I need to keep this confidence, okay?
Okay.
Oddity came out 2024, this very year. Again, it's released on Shudder, but did have a very short, limited release in theaters. It's an Irish film. It is essentially boils down to this woman who's married to a psychiatrist. We actually were trying to figure out if he was a psychiatrist or a psychologist while we were watching it. I think he's a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
I think. But anyway, either way, he's a mental health doctor. He works at a mental ward. And he works nights. So his wife is at their house that they're renovating. And because they're renovating it, she's staying in a tent for the night. It's spooky in there. She believes it may be haunted, so she has like cameras set up, and has talked to her sister about it, who we haven't seen yet. But anyway, she's home alone. Here's a knock at the door, and it's a guy with a glass eye, and he seems really stressed out, and he says that there's somebody that walked into your house while you were outside, You have to get out of there now. Of course, she doesn't believe him because she's like, what are you talking about?
He's creepy.
He's a creepy guy. He's a creepy guy. Some would say a little weird.
Glass eye.
Glass eye.
I wouldn't have a plastic eye. I would have a real eye.
Doesn't match the color of the real eye.
Looks like he drew on it.
Yeah. So she doesn't believe him. But then we cut after she, it seems to be, lets him in, right? Because she starts hearing noises in the house too.
Yeah. And then you hear bang the gong.
Yeah, right. I wish every horror movie started that way. No, but then we cut to a bit of a flash forward. She's killed off screen. We don't see it. We see that the doctor's still working in the ward. We open to like hearing somebody like struggling, and eventually see that this person's been murdered brutally in the psych ward, and it appears to be that it's actually the guy who they have accused of killing his wife, who is the same guy with the glass eye. He's been killed. The doctor takes his glass eye, brings it over to his dead wife's sister, who is blind, who lives in Cork, the city in Ireland. And she works at this shop of curiosities, if you will. Yeah.
An oddities shop.
An oddity shop, if you will. And it's apparently covered with cursed items and spooky things. And, but he comes over basically to say, hey, I thought you might want this because the murderer of your sister died, and it's a glass eye. Here it is. Go. So she takes it, but in a bit of a twist, she turns out to be psychic and have powers where she can touch items, especially items that are personal use to somebody that they've held on to for a long time, and get sort of this clairvoyant vision of what happened in their life. So she does that with the glass eye.
Wait, before you move on, let's talk about the bell.
Sure. So we're introduced to her as she's holding a bell, an old-timey like hotel bell. And the husband asks what's the deal with that thing? And she says, oh, well, it's apparently haunted by a bellhop who died after a drunk guest pushed him over some steps or stairs. And the last two people who rang the bell died. So he's like, why don't you ring that bell? Go ahead, do it. And you immediately go, I don't like that guy.
Yeah.
Something's up with this guy.
Something ain't right.
Yeah. She says no and says that these things are serious. But anyway, yeah, she receives the eyeball and basically asks how he's doing, how everything's going, how's he adjusting to the house by himself. And he's like, actually, I got a new lady.
I ain't by myself.
Yeah, she kind of suggests like, hey, do you mind if I come over and like we can have dinner or something? Because I want to like talk about my sister. It's what 2 years?
It's been only a year.
A year. It's coming up to the 1 year anniversary of her death, and he's like, we'll see, maybe later. We're still setting up a little bit, and I'll see about it when I talk to my girlfriend about it. And she's not happy about that at all. No. Clearly shaken by it. And he kind of leaves saying like, yeah, I'll keep in touch. I'll let you know when it's the coast is clear to hang out. And then the next day, she shows up at the door as they're getting ready to go on with their days, and she brings this. Or actually, first she delivers this chest that was in the curiosity shop, and shows up shortly thereafter, and really makes it uncomfortable for everyone involved, and is really, really like abrasive. They're saying we can't hang out right now, maybe another time, and she's like, "No, I'm hungry. Let me hang out for a while." To which like the doctor leaves. I'm gonna fasten it up now, okay?
Yeah, take your time, brother.
I'm gonna speed it up. Okay? Watch this. Long story short, We discover that, well, first of all, by the blind sister touching the eyeball, she was able to see the guy who allegedly murdered her sister, right? And she immediately discovers that he's not the murderer. He's not the killer. And, we notice that she touches each of their hands, and we kind of assume that she gets some visions from that, too. We discover that, actually, there's this creep that the doctor works with as an orderly at the hospital, and he's the one who murdered the wife because he wanted to break up with her because he had a side piece, which is his girlfriend right now. The girlfriend gets pestered by the sister and then eventually gets scared out of the house by the ghost of the wife. And she just leaves, and she's gone for the rest of the movie, which I was like, good.
Well, and yeah. I was like, you know what? It's a nice change of pace for the ghost to just be like, get out. And when somebody listens and they're like, good. Like, get out. And I'm like, all right, I'm out. I don't want to fuck around with this shit.
Right. Meanwhile, additional thing to add to this entire mix of creepiness is that what's in the suitcase, or not suitcase, but in the chest that the sister brought is this life-size or human-sized mannequin of sorts. That's wood and looks creepy. And throughout the movie, since it's introduced, we see it in different positions, like kind of just wandering around. We never see it move. It's just like, like the angels in Doctor Who.
Right.
Like you look away and you look back and it's changed somehow.
Nerdy ass reference.
Yeah, well, what are you gonna do? You know what you get here. All that to say, once she figures it out, she's still at the house, and the doctor comes back. She explains to him that she knows everything that happened. And he's like, no, that's not what happened. Here, I'll put my phone where it has reception, and I'll go ahead to the office, and I'll call the police. I'll call the other doctor, or no, I'll talk to the orderly because he doesn't know anything about this, et cetera, et cetera. And then meanwhile, he opens up the trap door that we see earlier, and since she's blind, doesn't see it. He calls the phone. She walks ahead, falls down, busts her head. The orderly comes to the house to inspect because the doctor orders him to. She's dying, but sort of in her last death throes, starts this enchantment with the wooden man, and we finally see him start moving around. And basically, she controls him to try to murder the real murderer, but she dies right before that can actually happen. We cut to right after that, and the doctor has the murderer in the hospital strapped down, and he unleashes a lunatic cannibal on him, as we assume he did for the guy in the beginning that they thought, or that was pinned for murdering his wife.
I thought that the woodman killed him.
Oh no, you're right. You're right.
Because she killed him.
Right. She says that she said that she killed him, and that's something she's gonna have to live with. Like she's gonna have to deal with too. So yes, you're right. You're right. He got murdered by the wooden man, but the orderly gets left alone with the lunatic that's apparently a cannibal. And
we do see the lunatic like earlier in the movie, and it does make it seem like he's going to play like a bigger role, or that he already played a bigger role. So there is like nice misdirections.
Yeah. That's what it was. And then we go back to the doctor. He makes his way back home. He gets a voicemail from his girlfriend who says, "Hey, leave me alone. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Your house is creepy."
Which again, loved it.
Yeah, perfect, awesome, great. The doctor gets back home. He's kind of creeped out now that he's all alone in the house. And he goes ahead and he gets in the mail a box, and in the box is the bell from the beginning bellhop story. And of course he rings it, because why wouldn't he?
Of course he does.
And, he looks around, he hears some noises, and then, it gets quiet again. He goes, ah. And then suddenly, the bellhop ghost is right behind him. Cut to credits. End of story.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
He's very self-satisfied. That was like...
He thought he got away with it.
He thought he won.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was incredible. Incredible.
My retelling?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Obviously, not the movie.
No.
I felt like I watched it listening to you talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time when I do these recounts, it's about the same length as the movie.
I need to go back and listen to our Dune episode because I really need to hear how you recapped Dune. I think
that was a messy one. I think that was a real messy one.
Well, it was like a 2.5-hour episode.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming 30 minutes of it was retelling.
To be fair, it's a long movie and it's very complex.
That's what I'm saying.
So
it was pretty difficult to retell.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it.
And after reading the book, some of the book stuff melts into the movie, and some of the movie stuff melts in the book. It's a lot to talk about sometimes.
I get it, man. I get it.
But Oddity, a much more thrifty film, if you will. Straightforward. I'm really loving the this trend within these past couple of movies we've seen, including Longlegs, where it's a relatively simple, straightforward story.
Yeah, lean meat.
Yes, like pretty small, tight cast, all very good.
Very tight setting.
Yeah, very limited in where we go in these movies. It's not a special effect spectacle. It's very the kind of harkens back to a simpler time of filmmaking, which I really appreciate.
Simple scares.
Yeah, but very effective. I mean, I feel like this movie was actually scary.
Yeah.
in a way that like Longlegs wasn't.
Okay, so are we doing bits? Are we doing best here?
You know what I think? I think what would be easier and probably more enjoyable to listen to is to ditch the bits.
Okay.
And let's just talk organically about it.
Okay.
I feel like trying to pigeonhole our feelings into these little buckets can sometimes get in the way.
Okay.
Let's just talk about it.
All right, I'm with
Talk about it. At the end, we will review it as we often do our beers.
All right, I'm right there with you, brother.
Okay.
Let's do it.
But yeah, I mean, like I was saying, I really feel like if you went ahead and saw Longlegs with us last week and didn't really scratch the horror itch for you, I get it. This one should do the trick.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I haven't seen a traditional straight-up horror movie.
Horror.
In a while that actually like was scary. That actually like shocked. I've watched a bunch that I'm like, this sucks, and I get why people are complaining about the horror genre.
Yeah.
But this was actually really. I mean, there are jump scares. Warning to you if you're listening to the Spoilercast. Excuse me. Hopefully you have already seen the movie and you're just here to talk about it with us. But if you haven't and you just skipped his spoiler, or maybe you listened to it and you're like, you know what? I want to watch that movie.
Yeah.
There's jump scares, so just be prepared for that. And first thing I said to Andy when we finished watching it was like, the jump scares in this movie were earned.
Yeah.
They weren't cheap. There's a lot of movies that, like The Nun Part 2.
Oh, man.
I have such a beef with The Nun Part 2.
Yeah.
It's a dog shit movie. So bad. And the jump scares in that movie are so unearned.
Yeah.
They're so obvious, number one. It's like, oh, here comes the swell of music. That's what they did really effectively in this movie was a swell of music, and the tension rises and it's about to break, and then nothing happens.
Nothing.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's something that I really liked about Longlegs, that this capitalizes more off of, to less of an effect of dread and more of an effect of terror. Because Longlegs would do that, and then 9 times out of 10 it would be nothing.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it's like, about
Well,
50-50.
there is something, yeah.
About 50-50,
Something.
where they're like alluding to something being in the corner, and then sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. That's a lot of fun when watching the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, first of all, you let me know that we were going to watch this movie at the last possible minute.
Well, I thought you had already seen it.
No.
Did I misread? I thought you.
No, I hadn't.
You'd already seen it.
So
So you watched it. How late did you watch it?
I mean, basically right after you texted me.
That's awesome.
So I was like, okay, Sherry was already asleep. So I went into the
You
office.
watched it alone?
I watched it alone at nighttime. And yeah, it was effective.
Well,
it was
sorry,
very
man.
effective.
I apologize.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, we watched it in the living room with the lights weren't on. There was one light on, but for the most part, it was.
Yeah.
What? What's the face?
That's cheating.
It's a little cheaty. It's a little cheaty.
That's okay. But yeah, I mean, highly effective, especially in the right setting.
Yeah.
But yeah, what did you enjoy about this film?
I mean,
Film.
The scares were great. The misdirections in this movie I thought were fantastic. I mean, I thought it was pretty easy to tell that, like, you know, weirdo with the eye wasn't the killer. Even from the trailer, I was like, well, he's for sure not the killer. There's no way.
Yeah, and from the very beginning, you know, I was kind of on the fence about it. I'm like, are they going to do like a double switch here where it's like, no, he actually did that.
Right.
And there's something else additional to that.
Right.
But, you know, I will agree that I was like, nah.
Yeah, I mean, it was just too obvious. There's no
The
way
more
that
he talked about it, I was like, you got to trust him now, right?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
But I do really like the way that they did that, which was like he was being earnest.
Yes.
And
He heard something and was trying to do something about it.
and just because of who he is and how he looked,
Yeah.
she didn't trust him.
Right.
And I thought that was pretty effective storytelling because, like, the way that it's shot, the way that he looks, her reactions are normal. I mean, like, a guy like that just comes to your house.
She's all alone.
Then he starts rattling off about stuff that he knows about her husband, the doctor.
Right.
So he's very clearly a former patient.
Right.
That is scary.
Yeah.
So given that situation, like there's a moment where her sister asks, like, would you have done what she did? Would you have let somebody in? And then the girlfriend's like, do I look fucking stupid?
Right.
And she's
Do
like,
you think my sister was stupid?
Right.
Do you think my sister looks stupid?
and that is really good writing there. First of all,
Yeah.
you know, you get a lot of like how these two women feel about each other, how they
Yeah.
feel about the situation, but you also get a nice little, like, I guess, like, look, you know, a moment of like self-reflection of like, would you have done that given
Right.
the situation? Would you have let this man in? Like, what would you have done in her shoes? Because it's hard to say if she made the right decision or if she didn't.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think I think they did it's very effective storytelling. Throughout the whole movie, I just kept thinking, like, man, this is really well done. The way that they told that part, the way that they did that, like, it's really effective. Not just scary, but really effective in what they were trying to get across. No real like plot holes, no real like weird stuff that went unexplained. It just was like really well thought out story.
Yeah. And that's something else that I really like too, is that overall the characterization of these people was really well done, especially for a horror movie.
Yeah.
Like Yana, the new girlfriend, like a very easy character to like sloppily write and make very unlikable. Mm-hmm. But you kind of don't hate her. By the end of it, like, it's kind of understandable that she got twisted into this thing without knowing that he's this murderer and like psychopath himself.
Yeah, they very easily could have been like, she could have been a woman who's like, yeah, you know, you're a dumb bitch of a wife, or like, you know, done something to let you know, like, oh, she was in on it, he was cheating, she's awful too, you know, fuck her, and it would be very easy to like root for her to get got.
Right.
And instead, they don't do that. There are parts where you're like, she kind of sucks. But then you're like, nah, she's kind of just a normal person reacting the way a normal person would react in this situation.
Yes. I think the sister's name's Darcy, the blind sister.
Yeah.
She is very, like, she's very purposefully unlikable when she gets to the house.
Yeah.
And you get why. Like, you understand why she's being the way she is. But
because she already knows.
At
She's
that point,
there.
yeah.
At one point, she does say that she is there to kill the husband.
Yeah.
So when she comes in off rip, she's very abrasive.
Yeah. So that makes it easier for you to kind of understand why Yana is so off-put by her and like has an attitude, because you could see yourself in that position as like a couple who has like this intruder coming in basically and kind of imposing themselves on you, and it leads to one of those, like there's this trope in movies where there's like sometimes this this uncomfortable outsider that comes into the mix, and you have to parse out whether they're actually dangerous or they're just annoying.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I really like they added that element to this mix, and not only that, but their own twists on the horror and like supernatural genre by making it essentially a revenge movie.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
It's like utilizing the supernatural to get your revenge, which
Yeah.
empowers it in a way, but still doesn't keep it from not being scary.
Right.
Because I thought I was going to do a thing where it would be like, I don't know, almost like a, what's it called? The Joss Whedon movie, the one he wrote with all the monsters and the Joss
Whedon movie with all the monsters.
Where it's all a big cover up and it's all orchestrated.
The Avengers?
Yes, Endgame actually. Man, I can't believe I'm blanking on that movie.
Orchestrated cover up with monsters?
Yeah. Where it's like a.
Cabin in the Woods?
I was gonna say, it has a cabin in the woods. Yes, cabin in the woods.
Yes,
I thought it
Cabin
was
in the
going to end
Woods.
up being more of like a cabin in the woods
like
situation,
a meta commentary kind of thing.
Yeah, where it would be like Darcy has this treasure trove of haunted items that she can unleash on. Was Ted? Was his name Ted?
The trailer makes
Ted,
it look
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, and so I was like, I mean, that's a fun idea in its own right, and it kind of flips it to be like, almost like in the video games where you're playing as Michael Myers, so like you're empowered by these ordinarily scary things. You're seeing it from the other side, but I'm glad it didn't go down that route.
Same,
and it was more of a, you're always kind of seeing it from these characters' perspectives.
Yeah, the only real supernatural element happens in the end. With the Woodman finally comes to life, and that's really unsettling and creepy and stuff. Not so much scary, because like the way that they do it, there were a couple of like little nitpicky things I thought, like with the Woodman. I loved that it was like the Angels in Doctor Who.
There you go.
Question mark.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a really effective way to scare.
Oh yeah.
And I love that every time like you cut back to him, he's in like some weird position. Like the moment where she's at the top of the stairs, she looks down and he's looking up.
That was one of the best scares in the movie.
So
I was
good.
like,
so good. I said, I go, whoa! I just said, whoa!
Don't like that. Yeah.
So yeah, that was really good.
Yep.
And I thought that once they finally reveal that that's what, she's in control of it and like whatever,
Yeah.
that they kind of abandoned the idea of like, it was more effectively scary for him to be in like these unsettling positions and looking in weird places than for him to just get up and basically just beat the brakes off of this dude. At that point, it's like, this just looks like a dude. I mean, it's not really that scary anymore. Yeah. I mean, it's scary, but at the same time, it's like, it's not that scary.
Yeah, but I think that didn't bother me so much because by that time we were kind of looking for that revenge to happen.
Yeah.
And also,
I just think that maybe they could have done that more. They just could have done that part a little scarier.
I would have liked it better if it maintained the thing where if you're not looking at it, it doesn't move.
Right.
Or it only moves when you're not looking at it.
Yeah.
I think that would have been better.
That's what I'm saying. Like every time, like
he turns a corner,
or if he drops the flashlight and he can't see it, the flashlight
yeah.
comes up and boom, he's right in his face. Or something like that would have been, pretty good. But again, that's like a little nitpicky thing.
But at the same time, I didn't have enough time to really linger on that as much because immediately after, when that, the grand finale vengeance that we've been looking for is kind of taken from us, really, when she dies. Before he's able to smash his head.
Yeah.
Because we saw in drawings before that's what happens. He comes to life and literally just smacks your head together and it explodes.
Yeah.
Right after that, they subvert expectation in the Doctor is now becomes this horrific thing by strapping down the real murderer, who's now remorseful, trying to ask for a priest, etc., etc. And now it's like, no, now that the Doctor, who, it's the old cliche, right? Like, he's the real monster.
Yeah.
But it really underlines that, and it kind of, I could see why maybe some people would find that unappealing, or like it doesn't feel good, but it's not supposed to.
Yeah.
Like, the revenge happens, but by the hand that didn't deserve to get it, you know? So I thought that was really interesting to do, especially at the end.
Yeah. Well, I think that was really, I really like that, because it again, like you said earlier, the characterization was really well done. And when you get to him getting the package, I think, to me, it's immediately apparent what it is.
Yeah.
And it's the question of...
It's the unfired gun.
Yeah.
Or the bomb you see at the beginning, and it's just waiting to explode.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when he sets it down and he pulls it out, you're like, okay, have the events of the movie changed this person in any way? Or is he still so arrogant to believe that, like, he doesn't believe the orderly who said that a wooden man came to life.
Yeah.
Even though this man has suffered injuries that, like, unexplainable if you don't believe his story. What else could have happened?
Right.
Broke his leg. His face was all beat to shit.
He never believed the house was haunted, even with his wife.
So he's a skeptic through and through. He's a doctor, and he believes in science and reason, which,
and murder.
Right? So you get to the end, and you know that that's what's happening. Pulls the bell out, and you're like, is he gonna ring it? He's gotta ring it, right? He's an asshole. He's gotta ring it, and then he does,
He's
and
smug.
You're like, it's smug.
Yeah.
And then when he rings it, you're like, you almost get that, like, the sisters didn't get their vengeance in life, but in the afterlife, it's like, you just need, like, he needs his comeuppance.
Yeah.
And I love that they waited until the very last second of the movie to say he's still gonna get his.
Well, and I think, now that I think about it, like, that had to have been Darcy's plan all along, right? Like, if this doesn't work out,
right,
I'm sending this in the mail.
She's got
ahead of
reinforcements
time.
just in case she doesn't take care of it.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
It's great.
Nice foresight.
Fantastic.
She knows that she knows that he's
can't
an
help
arrogant
himself.
piece of shit.
Yeah,
like,
he
he's
can't
gonna
help
do
himself.
it.
Yeah. I loved, speaking of characterization, I love how when Ted was talking about why he did it, he's talking to the orderly as they're planning it, the murder. The orderly's like,
he's like, why don't you just divorce her?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why we gotta kill her, bro.
Right.
Even the psycho murdering orderly was like, do we have to kill her?
Yeah.
I love that.
You sure about
Why
that?
don't you just divorce her?
Right. I love that because it just underlines how much of a bad person he is.
Right. Because he doesn't want to give up the house.
Right.
And this house.
Oh no! And not only that, he is even condescending to his wife, who he is married, by saying, "Oh, she'll never get over me. She can't.
I know.
She can't handle."
Dude, when he
can't
said
handle,
that, I was like, "You piece of shit.
She loves me.
She'll never get over
me."
And they get to that point too, because Darcy says it would have hurt, but she would have got over you.
Yeah,
like you didn't have to kill her.
I love all that. I love all that.
Who the fuck do you think you are? That she just would have not.
She couldn't handle it.
She couldn't handle it.
She deserves
so she's
to
got
die.
to die, and then for him to have this holier than thou, like, well, don't sexually assault her. I need it quick
Right.
and clean and
Right.
painless. It's like, you're murdering her,
Yeah.
man.
Oh,
you're
and
not the good guy here.
Try to do it while she's in the tent asleep. It won't make much of a mess that way.
Yeah.
He's worried about the house.
And that was a great scene. We didn't talk about that.
Oh
but that
my
was fantastic.
God.
What a great. I mean, so good to reveal him as the killer, and the way that they do it with the camera, with the pictures.
Oh yeah.
When he when she's in the tent, and it's not like a boo, it's like a slow, like, hey, what's up? I'm here. And you're like, no.
He's wearing a mask. It's just immediately
and it's the
very
creepiest
frightening.
mask. Yeah. I mean, that whole scene, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Really good. Really, really good.
Yep.
I think the jump scare that got me the most was probably when she's watching the playback in the tent, and she's like, "We're here in the tent," and blah 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 blah.
Oh my God.
And then
we saw it once before,
right? So you're thinking you know what's going to happen.
They
again.
did the PT thing,
right?
You go through once, and it's like, okay, nothing happened. I go through again, nothing happened. I go through one more time. Oh, suddenly
there it is, and it worked. It got me because I was like, ah!
yeah. I already I could. Like nobody was there to see me, but I could feel the smile on my face because I knew it was gonna happen.
Yeah,
and my haunches were up, and I was like, "Do it, come on!"
Yeah,
it was a good one.
That was great. That was a great scare. The reveal of the sister as a ghost in the house was fantastic as well, with the camera flashing. Her in the corner was amazing. When she tells her to run. Yeah. And then when she's outside the house and just her face kind of comes into the dark doorway, and she's just like, "Get the fuck out of here!
I'm going.
Like, don't fucking bring your punk ass back in here." And she was like, "Bye,
I gotcha."
And I loved it.
Not worth it.
Again, I said it before, but I do think it's really fantastic because there's always so many moments like that in classic horror movies where it's like, run, get out, and you're like, listen,
I don't know what we're gonna do here.
It's like, just leave. They're giving you the chance.
Well, especially because it's not her house. It's like it's her boyfriend's
right?
house.
And she's like, and the ghost is like, she knows that Darcy's there to get revenge. She's like, we're gonna get ours.
Right.
You don't have nothing to do.
You
with
don't
this,
want to
okay?
be here.
You got taken advantage of as well.
Right.
You want to hang around? You're gonna get your wig split too.
Yeah.
But we're giving you the chance.
I'm giving
to get
you
out
a
of here.
little hint. You shouldn't be here.
And she took it. She was like, I'm not coming back to your haunted house. She's like, I don't know. And I love in the voicemail when she's like, 2 people have died there.
Yeah.
Why do you keep going back to that house?
It's really weird you're comfortable sleeping there.
And you know what? If he wasn't so arrogant, he would have survived.
Yeah.
All he needed was just a moment of some sort of self
reflection.
Yeah.
Just a moment of clarity.
Just take a second to realize what. I mean, he got away with murder twice.
Yeah.
And he still, his arrogance still brings him back to the house.
That's his house.
Ringing the bell. If he had just not gone back to that house, he would have never even got the bell. You know what I mean?
It's a story of how many opportunities this guy had to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And he chose wrong every time.
Every chance he got, at every corner. And it's just one of those things. It's like, I don't know if there's an overall point behind, ego and arrogance could be your downfall, or if it's just like one of those, but it effectively tells that story. I think.
Sure.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I had the feeling it was going to be good based on reviews. You see, and here's the thing that we should talk about, because last week when we did Long Legs, a lot of that was overshadowed by the hype behind it.
Yeah.
Much less hype around Oddity. Critical hype, good critical reception. It's in the 90s.
It's at 95%,
something like that. Yeah, rave reviews all around. But it didn't have that sort of zeitgeist moment where everybody was like, "It's the scariest movie of all time."
Yeah,
and I think that really helped. And also, I tried my best to walk into this one without knowing much about it at all.
Same. I didn't really know what we were getting into, and the trailers. Yeah. I will say, to their credit, do a really good job of showing the movie without showing the movie. And we've talked at length on this show, on our other show, about how trailers, they reveal too much nowadays. And with this one, even if you go on YouTube right now and watch, it's like it doesn't really show you what is Andy and I watched the trailer before we watched it, because I was trying to convince them to watch it.
Yeah.
And at the end, we both looked at each other and was like, it still doesn't really reveal.
Yeah.
Like, we still don't know what this movie's about.
What is this?
I was like, let's just dive blind into it, and we did, and I'm really happy that we did, because it's I think that like Barbarian is like a modern horror classic.
Yeah.
I feel very comfortable in safely saying that I believe that is like a movie that will go down in history. I think it's a fantastic, like perfectly done.
It's a great ride.
I love Barbarian.
Yeah.
I fall just slightly short with Oddity of saying that, only because like I don't know if it was as there's a certain charm to classic horror movies. There's like a charisma to them. There's in some movies that are just like straight up scary horror, like body gore, fucked up, like whatever. They kind of lose a little bit of that charm that sends them into the stratosphere.
Uh-huh.
But I think Oddity is probably one of the most well done horror movies, because the thing is, with horror, it's getting harder and harder to shock people, right? It's getting harder and harder to scare people. It's getting harder and harder to do convincing scares that people don't feel like, oh, been there, done that.
Not even scary.
Right. And Oddity does a really, really, really good job of subverting those expectations while still giving you a couple of jump scares, with a well-written story, well acted, just well done across the board. So I don't know if I'd call it like a new horror classic.
Yeah.
But I'd be hard pressed to not. I'm on the. I don't know. I'm on the fence. It's hard to say if it is or if it isn't.
I do think it can be, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that it is a story that could be told. It could have been told in 1950. It could have been told in 1980. It feels like a classic movie.
Yeah.
It's one of those I think could be timeless.
Yeah.
I just think that its smaller nature is going to limit it, unfortunately, in a way that like it could have, I think, benefited from a larger release in the way that Longlegs was.
Yeah. It gives it a sort of like indie vibe, like too indie of a vibe.
Yeah. It like, I'm just going to say it feels cheap. They do well with what they have, but you can kind of feel that they didn't have a ton of money to work with, and in a way that works for its benefit. It's very, boots in the ground. It's very grounded. Which does help, but I did catch like a couple of shots where I'm like, it looks a little cheap.
Yeah.
But all that washes away when you get invested in the story, the acting, the characterization of these people, the scares, all that. It does not matter.
Yeah.
And also a fun fact that I found via Wikipedia. Apparently, Alan Boole, the guy with the missing eye from the beginning, has his own short film called How Alan Lost His Eye.
Oh,
which
that's cool.
explores his character backstory. So, yeah.
I don't know how interested I was in his backstory, but that is cool that they even did that.
There's a universe here.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that came out first. It was in 2013.
Oh,
Yeah.
so they used that character and was like, let's throw him
into this movie. Yeah.
Okay, that makes me more interested.
And apparently, I haven't seen this movie myself, but I heard a lot of good things about this movie called Caveat, which this director also did. His name's Damien McCarthy.
Damien McCarthy.
McCarthy. And that's another one that's on Shudder, so he probably has a good relationship with them, I assume.
Yeah.
But he also shot that in the same location in Cork, Ireland.
Okay. Same house, too?
I think so, yeah.
That house is so creepy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It is definitely a character in the movie. It is... I'm with his wife. I'm with his girlfriend. I'm like, dog, this place sucks.
Yeah.
Why? Why are we here?
Well,
it's so creepy.
In like what we talked about with Alien Romulus, it's like I feel like I know the map out of that house.
Yeah.
It feels very real. It feels like I could walk through that house in my mind.
Yeah.
And that adds to the realness of it all.
Right. When you go up them stairs and you go like towards the bathroom, or I'm sorry, towards the room and everything, like that corner room.
Yeah.
The bathroom being downstairs.
The wraparound like balcony.
Mm-hmm.
the stairs at the very end of it.
Excuse me.
The
All of
hallway
that,
at the
like
end of those stairs.
it's like, yeah, if you can the better you can visualize it, the scarier it is because you're like, I know exactly where they're standing in this house.
Right.
I will say if you know, I have little nitpicks, the jump scare thing that I was talking about before, and also, I mean, the millisecond the husband's on screen, I was like, he did it.
Yeah.
I mean, the second
Same.
he opens his mouth,
Same.
I'm like, he did it.
Well, again, I was overthinking it the entire time. I'm like, it can't possibly be him, right? Like, it's too obvious that it's him.
Nah, that one.
And then
was
it's like, no, he's. Yeah.
I just couldn't. And then when he reveals that he's already dating somebody, I'm like, oh, now I will bet my life savings that he did it.
Yeah. Like,
So yeah, it
okay,
just
I see those things
yeah,
happening.
Yeah. So
I did find it interesting though that I mean, this may have been just a me thing, but it seem like Darcy like wanted to kind of like be close with him in a weird way at the beginning.
I think before she knew that he was the killer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, of course.
Well. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I know you killed my sister, but
yeah. Yes, but what I'm saying is, like, in the movie, in the context of the movie, like, she doesn't know until she gets the eye.
Right.
So up until that point,
yet another mistake by him, by the way.
Right.
He didn't have to have the hubris to be like, here's the eye from the guy that killed your sister.
Dude, can you imagine, like, this horrific thing happens to this man under his care,
Yeah.
and he thinks, well, I'll just give her a piece of the evidence because who gives a shit?
Right.
You know, and you don't even have to.
That shows how little he cares about the people he cares for.
Right. Because even if you don't believe in the supernatural, I think that that's just an incredibly inappropriate thing to do.
Absolutely.
And to just be like, here, I don't give a fuck. Like, do whatever you
Yeah.
want with it, you know?
Yeah.
And to pillow it in this, like, you know, well, I know you asked for this, so here you go. It's like, no, man, no.
Yeah.
That's evidence. There was
Right.
a murder that took place. I don't think you can just give her that. I don't think that that's okay.
He kind of presents it like an engagement ring too. He does
And this little,
Yeah.
and then the way that she takes it, she kind of cups it in both hands.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there's this weird, like, comforting thing because they're twins. I don't know if we actually talked about that part. That is a very important part of the movie, that they're twins, so they feel what the other, they have that, like, twin
Connection.
superpower or whatever.
Right.
And that's like a whole thing with the Wooden Man. Like, she finally, like, when she takes control of him, she says, like, we are connected, the way that the ex-wife said that in the beginning. So there's like a
it's a bookend.
yeah. So
And she sees her sister at the top of the trap door too. Looking in.
Right. So there is that connection there. And yeah, I do think that there was a weird kind of her not running into the arms of her sister's ex-husband.
Yeah.
But there, like, a level of comfort there, for sure. Yeah.
Well, with the whole, like, for me, before obviously the story was unveiled about what actually happened, I kind of almost saw it as like, oh, she's just bitter that he moved on, like he has a girlfriend now. Like it just seemed it seemed muddled at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I just thought that added a level of complexity to it that I was like, oh, okay, I see what you guys are doing here. That's kind of cool.
She did seem bitter because she was maybe interested in some kind of macabre way.
Yeah, well, because she's essentially was like, you know, I'd love to come over for dinner. You know, like it seemed kind of like
talk about my sister, and it's like, where does that lead?
Right.
Kind of thing. Sure. Yeah. But I just thought from the jump, like, he does.
Yeah.
He totally did it. So, yeah.
But it's okay. Like, I don't know. For me, at least, it's okay. Like,
no,
the
yeah.
simplicity of that storytelling is fine. It works still.
I guess because there's such good misdirections and twists throughout the movie, the fact that I feel like it was a little broad strokey with the husband, like, he's such... I don't think he's very charming. I don't think he's a very nice man.
Yeah.
I don't see what...
He never seems very nice. Like, he never seems very
No,
nice.
he just seems like a really mean dude. And the wife even in the limited amount of time that we get to spend with her,
Yeah.
she seems so charming.
Very
she seems
sweet.
so, yeah. And I just really kind of fell in love with her, even in those like in that like 5 minutes we get to spend with her.
Which is what they're trying to do.
But I just, I don't know. I guess this is I don't know. Relationships are complicated, and people fall in love with people who they maybe shouldn't. I guess that's
Were
kind
you
of
judging her for her choice in man?
a little bit
Yeah.
because I was like, he's such an asshole.
But
I
he's
don't
a
really
doctor.
understand what she saw in him.
He's a doctor.
And but that's the thing,
And has
though.
a really nice house.
That's why I think
that may or
like,
may not be haunted.
and that's what I'm saying. I think she's better than that.
Yeah.
And I think she deserved better than
well,
that.
she was, and she did. And
But that's
her
what I'm saying, like, I think,
her
like,
twin sister saw to it.
Right. But that's why it's so easy to go, he definitely did it because he's such a dick. And it's like, who else? What other motivation would like a random... I do think also, this is another nitpicky thing. This doesn't take away from the movie. But I do think that if it was just a random stranger had killed her
Yeah.
and there was a mystery behind like why,
Yeah.
that would be a little bit more interesting than just the husband was trying to leave her, didn't see a way out, so he thought, let me kill... Because let's just... Okay. This, just for the sake of argument, I think it is a very poor plan on the doctor's part to hire his coworker
Yeah.
to kill his wife.
Well, he was also a former patient, right? Wasn't that the link?
I don't know.
I thought he
maybe.
I thought he may have been a former patient.
Maybe that was
and
something that was said in the text, I
so.
guess. Or maybe
Again, it was
missed
really
that.
late when I saw it.
Yeah.
So who knows?
But yeah, okay. With or without that, let's say with that, even worse.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Without that, still pretty bad to hire. That's like a guy that you hang out with at the bar kills your partner, and then the police question him, and it's like, well, what's your relationship to these people? It's like you have to act like you don't. It just didn't. I think he would have been questioned. I think the motivation there would have been. Well, actually, I mean, they didn't know who it was. They. But even his patient killing his wife in that way. Even that is like, well, what? How would he know your wife? Why would he go to your wife's house? How would he know your address? What was, Yeah. I just think that part was a little kind of glossed over.
Yeah.
I don't know if the husband would have gotten away with it. I don't think he would have gotten away with it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
I do feel like that's another an element I'm willing to push to the side.
Yeah,
Based
I'm saying it's a nitpick. It's a nitpick.
I'm saying based on his character and the portrayal that they're going for, which is the idea of his hubris getting the best of him.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he? He thinks he's so confident he'll get away with it. And not only that, it gives him leverage over these people.
Yeah.
Because he knows worst case scenario, I will say he's crazy and strap him down and he will die.
Right.
He
That
will
does help.
disappear.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like I have ultimate power over these people.
Bro, and that guy biting his foot.
Jesus Christ. No, and when he jump scares by his feet, I was like, oh, God. I thought they were going to go for like the Nosferatu, like slow open. And
Yeah.
like walk. No.
Nope. They were
He's
like,
right
cut,
there.
cut back. There it is. And then he kind of like gives the foot a little like, you know what I'm about to do, right?
Daddy's hungry.
With the eyebrows.
Daddy hungry.
Yeah, that was fucked. That was fucked.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's just really. I think those are the only really the only things the only drawbacks for me is just a couple of like little nitpicky things.
Sure.
I do think that they may have ramped up the scares a little bit sooner. I think that they do a really effective job of like getting the tension going. And once it finally reaches a fever pitch, it all happens in like the last 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
I think they probably could have started it a little bit sooner. I kind of felt like there was a moment where I was like, we're like 45 minutes in, and kind of nothing's really happened. A lot of misdirection, a lot of you thought that was going to be scary, but actually it's just a normal dude. You thought that was going to be a thing, didn't really happen. So there was a lot of misdirection that, and I know that helps build the tension.
Yeah.
And then you get to that fever pitch moment, and it's the last 30 to 20 minutes of the movie. But I think that on an overall experience, if they started kind of ramping it up a little bit sooner, might have, you know, the scares would have been.
I do, like, it was effective for me in a way that from almost the first frame, we are led in to believe that there are ghosts in this house.
Yeah.
And so that had me already on edge. And that was enough to get me through, I mean, the first half of the movie, at least, to be like, this place is allegedly already haunted. Then a murder happened, and suddenly there's a wooden man that is moving on his own, and we have Darcy and what's her name, the girlfriend, Yana. We have Darcy and Yana just spending time next to this freaky looking thing.
Yeah, their scenes were great.
And that's a good portion of the movie, and I love that it's like claustrophobic, uncomfortable, but it doesn't really ever feel dangerous until it does. And then it's like, okay, should probably go.
Yeah. Also, another like nitpicky thing, again, this doesn't take away from the movie, but like if my dead wife's sister came in with a trunk, I'm like, okay, what's in the trunk? And she pulls it out, and it's that.
Yeah.
I would be like, bitch, if you don't get the fuck out of my house, there's no way I'm letting you set up the Burning Man in the middle of my fucking living room with his mouth wide open. Get that shit out of my house. I'm calling out of work. I don't give a fuck. I'm calling up. I'm like, listen, we got a situation here. I'll see you guys when I see you. I need to get this fucking mannequin out of my house.
A full-size model of Imhotep from The Mummy.
No, man. Get this out of my house. No way. I'm not leaving my girlfriend with you and with that thing.
I will say that did give me a bit of a, like, I had to be like, okay, I'm going to accept that they just allow this to happen.
Yeah.
Because
that's a wild thing to
absolutely not.
But again, it does allude to his arrogance.
Yeah.
To be like, well, it's just a pile of wood. Right. Even if it looks weird, it's not scary because it doesn't mean anything. Yeah. It's not like it's gonna come to life or anything. So who cares? Right. So I get that.
His disrespect for everyone around him too, because you know Yana is very uncomfortable the entire time. Lets it be known, and what does he do? He leaves for work, and leaves her there to deal with Darcy.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Yeah,
and I got mad immediately. I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah. I mean, even if this movie had no supernatural elements to it, it is really weird to just be like, I don't know, figure it out. I got to get to work. Like, why are you bothering me with this shit? Like, he's such an asshole. Yeah. And again,
people count on me, okay?
Yeah. And I'm like, these women count on you too, you fucking prick.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's such a dick. And I just thought like, there's nothing
Ted
redeeming.
Sucks.
I think that like, maybe if he had been a little bit more charming and a little bit more ingratiating with the women in his life, that it would have been harder to tell if he was involved or not.
Yeah.
But I just think he's so obviously a cheating douchebag. He just so obviously did it.
But in like a 4D chess way, that is also what kind of made me question whether it was him. Because I'm like, in a lesser movie, he would be like really nice and like so cool and you know, just like a teddy bear. And then this twist, like
and that would have been unearned too, right? Because if he's such a good dude, and then at the end, and then out of nowhere,
actually,
he's a murderer.
I'm the murderer.
Yeah, that would be harder to believe too.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's hard to strike a balance between like, why would this woman be with this guy?
Writing's
so
hard. Writing is hard.
Writing is hard. Yeah, well, that's what they say. I don't believe it, but that's what they say.
I don't believe it. Man.
I don't believe it, but that's what they say. They say writing is hard. I say it's probably one of the easiest things you can do.
It's one of.
It's an easy thing. It seems pretty easy to me. I don't know. Yeah.
Agreed.
I don't know if I have anything else to say.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much done with Oddity. I thought it was great. I would highly recommend it for everyone, especially because it's really easy to access on Shudder, which is a great platform if you're going into the October season looking for some horror movies. They've actually done a really good job of curating some really good horror movies to watch in this season, which we've complained about many streamers not making available during October.
It's such a strange thing, dude. And we talk about it every year. It's so weird that streamers like make it a point to not put horror, like good horror movies
they're
on
cheap.
there.
They're cheap. Unless they own it. Like, you know, HBO has certain properties they own.
Yeah.
They're just not gonna dish out the money to feature the movies you actually want to see.
Yeah.
But Spotify. Spotify. What I think? Shudder.
Spotify.
Shudder. Yeah. I was thinking of bad streamers.
Yeah. Fuck you, Spotify.
Shudder. Definitely a diamond in the rough. Go ahead and check them out.
Yeah.
All that to say, what do you think Oddity deserves on our 6 bottle cap rating?
I'm gonna give it a 5.5. I think that there was enough nitpicky things that kind of rose above for me as I was watching it that stopped it from being a full-on 6 out of 6.
Yeah.
But not enough to go any lower than a 5.5. I think it's an incredible movie. I thought really effective horror movie. Could go down as a modern classic. Yeah, I just awesome, man. Original, you know, a story that, you know, for the most part you didn't really know where it was going. I also like just to throw this out there, the Wooden Man. It was hard to say if anything was gonna happen with him, or if they were gonna like. I do like the idea of like maybe he's just there being weird and creepy and like nothing's gonna happen.
Well, they play with the idea that Darcy's moving him around too, because Yana's like, "Why'd you move him?"
Right?
And she's like, "I didn't do anything."
Right, and you're like, well, "I didn't do anything." It's like, sure you didn't.
Right.
And yeah, so I do love that. I thought that was great. So yeah, I'm gonna go 5.5 out of 6.
I agree. I think this is a soup to nuts, incredibly well-made movie, especially for like a lower budget film. And I think it deserves a bigger audience. As much as I can praise Shudder, I think it deserved a bigger distribution.
Should have been wide release for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should have had a big studio behind it.
Yeah.
It
imagine it coming out like this time of year, like wide release.
I mean, I hate to be like a shill for A24, but if A24 had like attached themselves to this, it would have been a movie that people like leaped onto.
Yeah.
Leapt onto. That's the word. Leaped isn't a word.
No, leaped is a word.
Leaped is a word?
Yeah.
I used it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, this Dragon Milk's hitting me a little bit.
It's fine.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's okay.
You know, I haven't eaten that much today.
Yeah, suck at the teat of the dragon. It's fine. You got to ride the lightning, my friend.
Woo! It's good that we're at the end.
Yes, 5.5 for me as well. Yeah,
leaped, leapt,
lippered,
liped,
loped. Anything else you want to say about Oddity, my friend?
No, man. I think we said it all.
Okay.
This is the definitive podcast about Oddity.
This is the only one you ever have to listen to.
Absolutely.
Congratulations.
You're welcome.
Well, if Marco doesn't have anything else to say, this has been the One Reel In podcast. I'm Jesus Rodriguez. That's Marco Duper.
That's right.
That's a wrap.
Let's all go to the Let's all go to the Let's all go to the
I told Siri.
lobby to get ourselves a treat.